Madam, the chances of your baby's survival are slim. You must rest and follow this regimen. All right, doctor, thank you. 2 months of rest passed and my mother stayed in bed throughout, while my father took care of her. And then she birthed me. The doctor entered her room and said, "You must ensure that not even a breeze touches the newborn." Why, sir, I'm sorry, but the child's development wasn't completed in the womb. I didn't leave the house in the first months. My dear, it's been 5 months since you gave birth to our son, Arthur. His condition has improved. We'll go on a vacation for you to rest from the postpartum depression. All right, my dear. I've also grown tired of staying at home all this time. And just as I stepped out of the house, the sun's rays touched my cheek and burned me. I couldn't stop screaming. Then they rushed me to the hospital. Oh my God, your son has an allergy. He must not be exposed to the sun at all. Is it serious for him? The symptoms associated with this condition can progress, and that's not in his favor. You must move him to a place where the sun doesn't shine. My parents returned home, bewildered. And as luck would have it, my grandfather lived in Russia. We had no choice but to take him to his grandfather, and when he grows up, we'll bring him back. But this is my son whom I struggled to bring into this world. I can't be away from him. If we don't do this, we'll lose him forever. My parents traveled to Russia. They stayed for a few days, then left me behind and departed. My grandparents were overjoyed. They took good care of me. During my stay, my parents visited occasionally. When I turned 5, my mother returned to take me, but my grandfather declined. He's starting school, exposing him to more sun. Maybe his condition has improved. Last summer, he got a severe fever from fishing at the lake, causing seizures. The long winters here will aid his studies, and summer brings holidays. Please care for him well. Farewell, my beloved, the apple of my eye. My mother decided to have another child. I must try again for a sibling for Arthur to ease my loneliness, and maybe forget about Arthur completely. My life with my grandparents was extremely enjoyable. They provided me with everything I asked for. I would go with my grandfather to the forest for hunting and return in the evening to find my grandmother had prepared the most delicious meals. At bedtime, she would tell me stories from various cultures. The time to start school arrived. I headed to school with my grandfather, who informed my teacher that he had a health issue that prevented him from being exposed to sunlight. The school, as you can see, was covered from all sides. Even the playground was an enclosed hall. But don't worry. If any issues arise, we will contact you. Goodbye, Arthur. Goodbye, grandfather. Look, he looks strange, like he's from space. I said hello with a smile, but the child got scared and turned his face away. As time passed, I got closer to Larry, the most diligent student. He was quiet and kept to himself. Hello, I'm Arthur. Hello, I'm Larry. I always see you alone and quiet. Do you have a problem? No, I just like to be by myself and read books. Would you like to be friends? Okay, agreed. Would you like to come to my house? I'll introduce you to my grandparents. My grandmother welcomed him warmly. She asked me why I didn't go on school trips. I can't. I have allergies. I told him about my illness, and he sympathized with me, easing my worries. Don't worry, I'm here. Call me if you need me. We became close friends. He would visit me daily, even after returning from trips, recounting every detail as if I were there with him. I gradually got used to my life. I studied during the winter and hid away in the summer. I stayed home and never went out. I entered high school, but my condition didn't improve. My grandmother, my classmates. They mock me because they live their lives normally, and I can't. "Don't worry, my son. Be patient and don't mind them." My grandfather heard us from behind the door and felt sad for my situation. The next day, my grandfather knocked on my room's door, then entered and said, "Arthur, come and see what I've made for you." My grandfather had modified his motorcycle helmet to fit the size of my head. "Wow, is this for me?" "Yes, it will protect you from the sun's rays and enable you to go on summer trips." I hugged my grandfather and thanked him for his unique invention. "You're the coolest grandpa in the world." I took my helmet and went to Larry. "Look what my grandpa made for me. I'll join you on the next trip." "That's really great news." The school year ended, and the school organized a 2-week trip to a camp in the city of Saratov. I knocked on the teacher's door. "Come in, Arthur. I want to go on the trip and I want to register too." Surprised, he said, "Are you sure? Will your grandpa agree?" I said joyfully. "Of course. Look, he made me a helmet that protects me from the sun. And finally, this will be your first trip. I hope you enjoy it." I packed my bags and said goodbye to my grandparents. And off we went, our bus, towards the camp. I didn't forget to wear my helmet and gloves to cover my entire body. On the bus, my classmates didn't hesitate to laugh and joke about my appearance, which resembled an alien's. "Don't pay attention to them. I don't care what they say. I'm happy to see the sun without it burning me." We arrived at our accommodation. Each of us chose a bed. As for me, I chose the bed far from the window. "Come, Larry, next to me and choose this bed." In the morning, the teacher entered the dormitory and said, "Get dressed and get ready. We're going to visit the city's landmarks." I opened my bag to get dressed, but I couldn't find my helmet. I searched thoroughly to no avail. I sat on the bed crying. Larry asked me, "What's wrong?" "Someone hid my helmet." Larry rushed out to the teacher. "Sir, someone stole Arthur's helmet." He gathered us in the courtyard saying, "This is not the behavior of students. The camp is meant to teach you good conduct. If the helmet doesn't show up, we won't leave this place." Everyone fell silent and stared at each other. "I'll give you half an hour. If you don't bring it to my office, I'll cancel today's outing." The day ended, and no one disclosed the whereabouts of my helmet. At night, the teacher changed his mind and took us to a restaurant in the city. We passed by the bridge, adorned with many lights. This is the longest river in Europe. It's so beautiful. We ate the best meals and enjoyed playing outside, and on our return, the sounds of cheers and singing rose. I said to Larry, "I can't believe I managed to come with you. If only we had found your helmet, we would have gone out in the morning and ventured to the neighboring towns." I hung my head. Who took it, I wonder? I suspect Jimmy. He asked me about its price yesterday. We arrived back at the camp. At the gate, the guard stopped Larry and said to him, "Come with me." "What's going on?" "You'll find out later. The rest of you, go back to your beds." Everyone slept but me. I was waiting for Larry to return. The teacher entered and called for me. I followed him to his office. I found Larry looking sad. "We found your helmet in Larry's bag." Impossible. Larry wouldn't do this. We heard yelling in the dorm, so we rushed there. "Enough. What's happening?" I was asleep until Ben started hitting me. "Why did you do this?" "You stole my cameras." "I didn't do it." "Step back." He searched our bags and found them in Larry's bag. He said grimly, "Larry was with me. Come on, confess." Everyone insisted it was Jimmy. He was also seen before in the market selling his stolen goods. I apologize, I did it. In the morning, "I'll send you to your parents as punishment." The next day, the teacher sent Jimmy home as punishment. As for us, we continued to enjoy our trip. I returned home completely happy. "I'm grateful to you. I won't forget what you've done for me." My mother heard about the helmet and traveled to take me back. But I refused to go with her. I couldn't leave my grandfather. I got to know my new brothers and promised them that I would visit them someday. I continued my life in Russia. I got married and had children there. As for my grandfather's helmet, it was a reference for me. As my head grew, I made one like it, but in a larger size.